My name is Kathy Baumgartner-Hetrick, and Steve Philippi and I undertook a very large project this year of the 250th anniversary of Palmyra. We have decided to do some oral histories of people who have lived in Palmyra. Most of them are over the age of 80 or 85, and we asked them to tell us their story about Palmyra so that we could put together a DVD that you're going to watch now that has the stories of Palmyra based on the people who have lived here. We hope you enjoy it. We've had a fun time doing it, and we think you'll learn a lot about Palmyra and the history of Palmyra through the stories of Palmyra.
I'm Frances Kreiser, and I've lived in Palmyra all my life.
Let's say who your mother was.
My mother was Sarah A. Sievers.
And she was a scout leader.
She was a scout leader, a registered nurse. She took care of Milton Hershey. She worked part-time at the Hershey factory, also the Hershey Park, and the Hershey Hospital.
Well, the reason I wanted you to state that is earlier today we talked with Charlie Reed, who wrote a book about the women who developed Palmyra, the women who were influential in the development of Palmyra. And your mother, I'm sure, was one of them. He didn't mention specific names, but when I think of that concept of the women who had a strong influence on Palmyra, I think of your mother, because she was my scout leader, and she was very active and influential in the lives of many people.
Yes.
And you are her husband, and you are?
I am Roy Kreiser, Fran's husband, yes, for 55 years. In February, and not less than a month, yes. Thank you.
Tell us about your experiences with the Palmyra Fire Company.
I joined the company in 1952. In those days, companies that you worked for, your job, your earnings, your work, the employer would let you have off when there was a fire. And I worked at Seltzers at the bologna factory, and there was like 5 or 6 of us. When the alarm went, we would run out the door, They never docked us a cent. Jack Seltzer was president of the bologna company, right? And he just said to me one day, he says, just have them get back as soon as you can. And that was it,
The town was supportive.
Yes, very much.
Were there significant fires during the time that you were involved?
Yeah, over here, the big one I could think of is the bowling alley.
That where the livery stable had been? That
Yeah.
one? Okay, the apartments that were...
Right. That burned down to the ground and had metal roof on it. Couldn't get out, That started a grease fire in the kitchen, the restaurant in the front.
Okay.
The Greystone Manor, yes, that was their, I don't remember his name, but Schneider died in there.
We heard earlier
Yeah.
someone was talking about that. She had actually been a resident there
Mm-hmm.
before the fire took place.
Yep. I remember they would crawl down into a corner between 2 dressing rooms and try to get away from it, but couldn't make it.
Didn't know how big it was going to be.
Yeah, it was all smoke. We just got a call to investigate the building,
You mentioned Seltzers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Seltzers? How long you
Okay.
worked there? And I mean, that was a prominent business in
Mm-hmm,
Palmyra. It still is.
Still is, yeah. They're going good. I started here in 1953. I worked my way inside, into the warm, loading trucks, and got to be assistant plant manager. And then, I don't know when it was, I retired in 96. But they were very good to their employees. They really were. And families, yeah. They took us on a trip one time to Florida. Jack leased 2 jet planes and loaded us all up, the employees, the families, children, the whole works,
Oh my
Took
goodness,
us down
wasn't
there.
that generous?
To Disney World for the day.
So everybody went down for one day and
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
came back.
Flew down.
Gave each $10
Yeah.
plus admission to the
Really neat.
That is. I've
Yeah.
never heard that story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Well, they have been very generous to to the 250th anniversary.
Oh, good.
That to go and take.
Good.
They have been wonderful. They filled our refrigerator here with bologna constantly, you know what I mean? And, you know, they've given for prizes and
Okay.
different supporting events and so
Yeah.
forth, so they're still very generous. Well, Fran, tell us about your child rearing and your work experiences in Palmyra, and then I want you to tell us a little bit about what happened in 1960 and how you were involved in that anniversary.
Okay. Well, I went to school here at Palmyra all my life, graduated from Palmyra. Well, then after nursing school, I worked at Polyclinic for 4 years. So then, in between, while I was at home with my 3 children, I did do some Girl Scouting. I had a brownie troop for 5 years, and then I went on just to help as a troop on the troop committee when my girls advanced, 2 daughters advanced on to the higher level of scouting. But my mother, she was in Girl Scouting for 25 years as a leader. Well, I want to tell you something that just happened recently. We have a grandson that was just recently inducted into the Palmyra High School Hall of Fame, Travis Risser.
How exciting!
And my husband was asked to present the plaque to Travis because Roy's also a member of the Sports Hall of Fame.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you did. Tell us a little bit about that Palmyra Sports Hall of Fame and how that got started. And I mean, it's not that old, is it?
No, not really. I was inducted in '97, and I think it might have been started 3 or 4 years prior to that.
So just in the 90s, okay.
Yeah.
And they honor, what type of qualifications do you have to be?
You have to be out of school 7 years. And then from there on, you send in a resume and they vote on them. Now this year, for instance, now we voted on 7 people out of 11.
And this is sports Hall of Fame?
This is sports,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
All the sports, the coaches, and then 5 are inducted. At this point, they're inducting 5 every year.
Well, I want to thank you for coming. Anything else you want to share? So these stories keep coming out here. That's great. You know,
Yes.
if you want good neighbors, then you have to be a good neighbor.
That's
So if you want to have a wonderful community, you need to be active.
Right.
Junior Women's Club, fire company, whatever. You need to be active and share that. And that's how you get to know people, and that's how you get to help the community grow.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Carol.
you.